Talking Podcast. I'm JJ Star.
And I'm Downtown Andy.
Welcome, welcome. We're here to talk and bring a little civil discourse to an otherwise discordant world and introduce Andy's new face.
Oh, yeah. I was supposed to do this. This is take 2. We started this last night. We're giving it another go at it.
Yeah.
Ugh.
But, how you doing? Yeah. Same. Samesies. Everybody drink.
There's a breakfast stout off camera here. Not a sponsor.
Breakfast.
Maybe we should be. I don't know.
Part of a balanced breakfast. That's why
it's breakfast time somewhere.
That's why it's a breakfast beer. Beer.
It's pretty tasty.
La bière de la petit déjeuner.
Listen,
Your French lesson for the day.
I used to drink whiskey like it was my job.
For breakfast?
Yeah. No, I used to I still do really like Jack Daniels, but
well, yeah.
For some reason, since marrying you, I've gotten into like a stout and porter kick. You make me like,
which is
dark
odd
beers.
which is very, very odd because I can't stand it.
Because I didn't really drink dark beers before we got together.
Did you? You didn't drink beer?
I drank beer. I just didn't drink.
I didn't really see you drink beer.
I used to really like Rolling Rock for some reason, which
Yeah.
everyone called Panther Piss. Actually, only one person called it Panther Piss. I did used to like Bud Light at one point, but then I started
Ew.
drinking like real beers.
Yeah.
I did like the Sam Seasonals, and somehow over time developed a taste for, as you would put it, things that I can chew.
Chewy beers. Yes.
I like the ones that taste like coffee and granola and chocolate
And feel like bread. Feel like soft, spongy bread.
For some reason, to each their own.
Hey, to each their own, indeed.
Don't get personal with me, Bernays. It's
Well,
one of the rules.
It is one of the rules. We actually have 3 rules. 3. And it's
if my mother-in-law is listening, she's gonna get that reference.
now I messed this up yesterday, which has now got me
But they
second
don't
guessing
know that.
everything. All right, nothing personal. No
You
judgment.
did it again. You
I
did it again.
Damn it.
Here, take the mic for good luck. Show them the sweet mic your dad gave us.
Right. No judgment. No, I almost did it again. No judgment, nothing personal, and don't be a dick. This is a prop, but it is legit.
We could plug this in at some point.
That's like very close to being over my lifting limit.
It's heavy.
It is heavy as fuck. God. And on that note, also, just while we're here, I'm gonna make the announcement that I had a little bit of.
So in response to last week's episode, we got some news. And the news is
I don't have cancer. I think some people didn't think that was a real concern, but it was, and now it's not, and I'm happy.
Because a day and a half after we recorded, and a day before the episode aired,
yes,
we got the news, and then I'm like, "Do we re-record?" And because that would,
yeah,
I'd tell your whole story,
But it's good. Good news.
Cancer-free.
Hooray for Chef Boyardee. That was a fucking poem.
There are whiskers on my leg again. Now there's a tongue on my finger.
She enjoys putting her face on you.
This dog. So about my face.
About your face.
I just felt like doing it. It was like 10 pounds off my face, which was great. And the dog has never liked me so much. If I knew 3.5 years ago that all I had to do to get this dog to like me was to shave,
yeah, but
I would have kept my beard.
She and I would have fought over that.
You're still fighting over it.
You don't get to dictate my husband's face. Neither do I.
She's under the table for those who can't.
Neither do I. That's why you look like this.
And
for now,
she's got her head in my hands and she's licking me, and I love it.
Let me ask you something. Something popped into my head. It was yesterday.
You want to pull up a chair? You want to be
She's cool holding down the rug.
These glassy eyes just they get me right here.
Yesterday we were literally explaining and exhibiting an actual real life VHS tape to the boy. Yeah, we did that.
We did.
We said, "Hey, go get one of those black things on that pile and bring it over here." And we showed him the bits and bobs of a VHS
Oh, I thought you were
tape.
talking about the movie we showed him.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
We showed him an actual VHS tape.
We did.
And in trying to explain it, I realized, like, we talk about, I mean, everybody talks about this. I feel like there's a point in every generation where it's like the technology of the generation before is like, can you imagine,
well,
blah,
today's
blah, blah.
generation is bound to not even know what VHS is.
But that's just it, is that VHS isn't even like, back in my day kind of a thing, because the amount of technology that came out in our youth, you're talking, we lived through VHS, analog cassette tapes. Yep. We lived through Betamax,
compact disc,
laser disc, compact disc, DVD,
Blu-ray,
DVD, HD DVD. Do you remember that weird little short stint there? Yeah. And all of these things,
all the systems.
Yeah, and I know that everyone sort of has these moments of like, it's cute for a meme kind of a thing. But I keep thinking now that, like, trying to explain, like, we can't even say like, oh well, this this came before YouTube. It's like, yeah, but there were several technologies in between now and then. Like, imagine trying to explain to someone that, like, you had to download your music before you could listen to it. Even that is a foreign concept now.
I remember being super excited to get my first cassette, and then even more excited to get my first CD.
I remember
because I got a cassette because I couldn't be trusted with a CD. Not only that, didn't have anything to play them on.
See, that was my hitch. I didn't have a CD player.
Yeah.
So I remember, I think it was for like maybe my 10th birthday. I had a party, and a friend of mine bought me a DVD, not a DVD, excuse me, a CD, and I had no way to play it. Did you
Smurf a little party?
I did Smurf a little party, and I had to take the CD back to the store and explain that I need it on cassette because I don't have a CD player. I think I got a CD player about a year later. But I remember that and being like, oh, God, they're going to think I'm so uncool because I don't have a CD player. See, and then I remember getting like the multi-disc CD players was like luxury.
I got hand-me-down Walkmans until I got my own. Walkman. And I wish I still had my first brand new one because I just grew attached to it. I grew like the design and the color and everything. And I'm like, and I listened to so much music on that. Did you
have one of those sport ones that like locked and you could put in the pool and stuff?
I don't think so, but I do remember the old headphones. They were like the pom-poms.
With the little cushions.
The very small ones. And then it was like the metal headband that, if it caught you at the right like angle, it would hurt you.
You always get your hair stuck in it. Absolutely.
But I loved that thing. Yeah. And then I also had a boombox like the one you got me. Almost identical, except it had Bugs Bunny on the front.
Yeah.
And I was this close to bringing it here before we sold the house, but I'm like, it stopped working a long time ago.
Yeah.
Never thinking I probably could have sold it and made some money, but
my first big stereo that I was like, my big stereo upgrade was, I think it had 3 or 5 CDs. I want to say it had 3 CDs, 2 tape decks, and a record player.
Yeah.
Because I was like, no, must have a record player because my family was all about.
Do you remember so many records, like those catalogs and those send away things where you could like win stuff like that?
Yep.
That's how. It's probably not even downstairs anymore. But I had one. It was the 2 tapes, 5 disc changer, radio, and the phonograph with 2 giant speakers. That I used at home until it came here, and then it became my downstairs in the garage. Music apparatus.
Yeah.
And then just collected dust until I
There is a stereo downstairs in the garage. There's my old stereo that still remarkably works. But
we are old.
I don't think we're old. That's just it. Like,
to the kids were old.
Thank God, right? Whenever it was 10, maybe 12 years ago, when the novelty of printing a vinyl was the thing. And so it's like you couldn't find everything on vinyl.
No.
But
now you can. Which is weird.
But think about that. Like, thank God for that. Otherwise, the Gen Alpha, which is what they're called, I still can't get over that.
Whatever.
Like, they now know what vinyl is, but we never referred to it as vinyl.
We called them records.
They were just records.
Your mom's records.
Yeah, they were just records. You would have on record, on tape, or on CD.
Right.
Those were the ways to do it. Now,
and you used to have music stores that you went to purchase said physical media.
Oh God, do you remember the fucking security things that they were always into?
Yes. And you and I have reminisced about the fondness of the wall sticker.
My ex worked at the Wall right before it closed. And upon closing, got me a whole roll of them stickers.
Now, for you youngins,
I put one on absolutely every piece of music
who don't know
I had.
what the Wall is, about 15 years ago, we had this place called FYE, and before FYE, it was called The Wall.
Yep.
And The Wall had a lifetime guarantee on all physical media.
Yeah. Stupid.
Lifetime guarantee.
Stupid. But you can't bring that shit to FYE and be like,
well, because the FYE that
now?
Exists today is not the same.
No,
FYE.
it's not. It's
not a music store. It's a novelty
You can
store.
buy vinyl there, though.
Right.
But, like, you know, I mean, your band just put out an EP, and we
don't have physical media.
Were you talking about printing physical media?
Somebody was talking about having CD, like a small run of CDs made.
Oh, man.
And for the amount of people that would consume them, it's just not worth the cost of printing.
I have been told that cars aren't even putting CD players in the cars anymore.
Yeah, just like how they're not putting they stopped putting auxiliary jacks on cell phones.
That's true. That's one.
Like when I found out that I couldn't get an iPhone with an auxiliary jack, and I'm just like, well, how am I going to plug in my headphones? Oh, it's all Bluetooth. I don't want to learn how to use Bluetooth. What if I don't want to?
And then I remember being adamant about being like, well, is there an adapter? And let me tell you something. I forgot the little dongle for my phone so many times on the way into the city that, like, as soon as I got there, I went to the Apple store in Grand Central, and I must have purchased like 4 of them.
Like you've seen in my car, it's got the CD player and the radio. There's no tape deck anymore.
No.
But now, because the CD player picks and chooses when it wants to work, and because the iPhones are the way they are, I have to either dongle it in through, like I have to get the proper dongle for like USB-C to 1/8 inch, or I've got to use the radio frequency thing that I've got, which I learned from being in the Aluminum Falcon, which we had one of those.
Yeah.
And it's just like, but the thing is you have to crank the volume and then you get all the hiss and the static along with it.
Because that was actually, I remember that those radio frequency things were like the first way for you to, you know, stream your iPod. Pod.
Did I ever tell you I got all my iPods for free?
You got all your iPods for free?
I got all my iPods for free.
How?
I had 2 iPod Touches. I don't remember what generation they were, but anyway.
That's
one came free
later.
with my 2008 MacBook that I bought. I got a printer and an iPod for some reason. I paid like a little under $1,000.
At that point, they were probably making too many of them.
Anyway, but it was great. It was like the iPhone without the phone. And then I think I loaned that to somebody and never got it back. And then the second one I won in the vending machine at the mall because it's the game with the blocks that you have to line up till it gets all the way to the top. And then there's like the mid tier that if you decide to stop there, it gives you like a mediocre prize. But if you keep going to the very top, which is it goes faster and faster and faster, it gives you like a grand prize of like fancy headphones or an iPod Touch. And after so many rounds, so many days and rounds of playing that game to no end and be like, oh, I'm never going to fucking win this thing. I walk in there one day, I put like $3 in, and I get another iPod Touch.
Wow.
And then I gave it to somebody who was with me at the time who didn't have one. I'm like, because I don't fucking need it. I've got one already. And then everyone's like, you could have sold that shit. And I'm like, well, I'm a nice person. Go fuck yourself.
I remember when an old friend of mine moved to Florida after college. And, you know, we had been best friends Bye, dog. We had been best friends up until that point. We teetered for a while. And I remember being like, well, what do I want to do? And I'm like, I'm gonna make her essentially a mixtape.
Like you made me a mixtape?
No, totally different. So, but I'm like, how can I do this so that I can make her like a really long mixtape? And then I can have one too. And that way it'll be, you know, like a BFF kind of a thing. And I bought for $50. $50. I couldn't believe that it was only $50. An iPod Shuffle. that was the size of,
one of those,
of a breast strip and had a clip and stuff like that. And it fit like 60 or 70 songs on it. So I got one. I still have it upstairs. And it might still work for all I know.
See, I miss being able to transfer between the computer and the iPod or iPhone, the music and all your other stuff. Like, I remember being able to plug it into the computer, and then just very simply, you could just drag and drop everything. Like, if I wasn't feeling these songs this week, take them off, put them back in the library, take other stuff, put it back on. That's all done away with because iTunes became Apple Music, and now even if you've paid for something, you don't even have access to it anymore.
Yeah, that's
unless
weird.
you subscribe to it, which is ridiculous. Side note, though, how is this something that we're having a civil discussion on? Because I don't think we're disagreeing on much.
Did you ever have to? Did you ever need an explanation of anything when you were a kid?
An explanation? Yeah,
the way we had to explain what a VHS tape was. Did you ever not understand what is this?
Well, way to divert.
I remember finding I wasn't diverting.
That is because we're still not. You
asked me what I wanted to talk about, and I said this was on my mind.
All right, yeah, I'm good for this.
I'm getting there. I want to know this first.
I was naturally inquisitive, so I was asking the who, where, why, how, all the time about everything. Like I needed to know the secrets behind the curtain. I needed to know how the magic worked. I didn't always get the answer I wanted, but a lot of stuff was kind of just I watched people I watched how they operated the VCR or the DVD player or the microwave or the washing machine or or the remote control, and I learned by watching or doing. We joke around all the time about how my dad calls me with problems with his phone or his computer or the remote control, and I'm like, Dad, just fucking button mash until you figure it out. That's what we did. Dad, when I was a small child in front of you in the living room, I did that, and I was a child. You were been an adult my whole life, and you can't figure this shit out. What did you do when I was a child?
Even remote controls. Think about that.
Call customer service.
Oh man, I remember back before DVR, when if you button mashed on the remote control, the worst thing you could do was put on a channel that didn't exist.
I remember sitting around having to watch my brothers play games that on their systems that I was only allowed to play at certain times or for certain lengths. Yes, she's barking. We'll fix it in post. We'll do it live. Anyway, but I remember sitting around and being like, I want to play Street Fighter. I want to play Mortal Kombat. I want to play. And then finally when I got my turn, it's just they weren't around to teach me how to do any of the moves or anything like that. And it's just okay, I got to fucking figure it out.
Yeah.
And there was no internet. There was no way to just quickly look it up. I mean, there was internet, but I didn't have access to it. And so you button mashed. And we see when you go on social media and YouTube and things like that, and you look up videos, memes, articles, whatever, there's a lot of people that bring up the I guess realization that we are the generation. They call us the last generation. We are the generation that was the transitory period between, coming from before the computer age into the internet age and beyond. And so we got exposed to, everything.
Yeah.
So we got enough of the old to appreciate where we came from, but we're exposed to enough of the new where it's just okay, we grew up with all this technology that we should be grateful for because, there were people that didn't have this and, stuff like that.
Do you think AI is next?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's gonna. Okay, so here's my thing is that with AI, it's everywhere now.
It's already
it's
here.
being integrated into everything. Yep. So
we've talked about that,
and we have talked about
the code commercials.
But what? I keep trying to think of everything that has come before now. If AI is next, if that's the new one, right? But is it doing the same thing?
AI probably helped close you up during your surgery.
Well, a man-driven robot closed me up, but it didn't do it on its own.
Listen, a big part of me wants to be fuck AI. I don't want to learn about it. I don't want to have anything to do with it. I like life the way it is now. But that mentality is going to leave a lot of people in the dust.
I will be one of them, probably.
Like, you either adapt or it moves on without you.
I'm sorry.
Because if history has taught us anything, it's that when societal norms and things of that sort change, you either adapt to survive or you get left behind.
My parents, you and I have been together for 3 years. We've been married just over 3 years. And only within that time have my parents
We've been together for 3.5.
Only in that time have my parents acquired smartphones.
Okay, good for them.
Only in that time.
Jealous.
They pushed it up, put it off, and even now it's like it was amazing to have them here the other day and actually see them using their phones. It was real weird to me.
In 2009, I got texting. I didn't want to get texting. I absolutely I hated the idea of it. I didn't want to pay for it. I was adamant about not having it.
Oh my God. Can you imagine trying to explain to someone? I know I haven't. Can you imagine trying to explain to a kid right now that there was a time at which you had to like check how many text messages you had sent or received in a month? Because otherwise you would have to pay for each individual one?
Listen, back then in the mid to late 2000s, that was still a time when you were communicating, you were calling people, you were having conversations. You know, it wasn't like texting was convenient when like you were in class and a teacher was lecturing and you were kind of not paying attention and you're trying to like text your girlfriend or whatever. So there were practical uses for text, but like texting is, I still wish it didn't exist.
Well, back when, we were first texting, like, I mean, I got my first cell phone with texting in 2003 was the first one I got. And then I got my first one with a camera in 2004.
Well, no, my first phone had texting capability. I just never used it because I had prepaid minutes. And if you used a text, it would take a whole minute away. So I'm just like, well, fuck that.
I don't remember what I was going to say.
Sorry. my first like real cell phone with a real cell phone plan was the Nextel with the radio, the two-way.
I remember people in my high school having Nextels and it being like a big deal.
See, now if any like kids, any Gen Alphas are listening to this, they're like, what the fuck are you talking about?
The Nextel was weird because it was actually, because the whole thing was it had that sort of walkie-talkie thing going on. It was
great.
Which was essentially a text, but you spoke.
Well, no, I mean, it was like using the phone, but without using your minutes or your text.
Sneaky.
Like
and the rest of us had Nokia bricks.
So for those of you who are unfamiliar, back in the mid-2000s, Nextel was a cell service where your phone acted like a walkie-talkie, and you could communicate without using your minutes or your texts or any data or anything like that with other people who also had Nextel for free.
It was earlier than that, though. I was in
I
was in high school.
This was like 05, 06.
This was like 2000 to 2001.
But not long after I got it, that's when they did away with it. And it's like, okay, shit. Well, now I have to go to AT&T or one of the other ones. And that's when I got my first Motorola Razr, which I still have.
I love the Motorola Razr. I had two of them. I had the Razr, and then I
got the
Razr
black
XL
one when it came out, and that's why I still have it. And the funny thing is, it still charges. It still turns on. There's no screen. The screen doesn't work, but all my ringtones are still on there. All my pictures from 07 are probably still on there.
It was real weird to me when they started coming out with cell phones, like full screen cell phones that fold in half.
See, I still have my...
Sorry. No, thank you.
Flip phone. And... it's still got pictures and ringtones and stuff. Back then, you had to pay for ringtones, $1.99.
Yeah, I have a whole box of old cell phones in the garage right now, and most of them I started. I used to trade them in to get the new one the next year or something, or every 2 years when your contract was up.
I never wanted to do any of that. I'm sorry to interrupt, but we're talking. We only have so much time. Come on, interrupt me. Talk.
And the reason why I kept them was because of the photos on them. Because you couldn't just, send them to your computer at that point.
But see, that's why I went with Apple. See, so many people shit on Apple because of, because it's the thing that everybody goes for. But everybody goes for it because it's user friendly. It's easy to understand. It's easy to operate. It's for people who aren't tech savvy.
Yep.
So let them have that and go with your galaxies or whatever the fuck else you
like
want.
that's just it. Is looking at going from using Apple products for who knows how many years, from I'm gonna say 2006, myself personally, 2006 to present day. The first time in like all that time between 2006 and 2020, maybe 21 even. I don't even think it was before that, honestly. When I saw not Google, but like Windows for the first time, I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
I'm like, don't get me wrong, I've used a Windows PC before and everything, but like when they did all those weird, I don't know when all that weird shit came out, and I'm just like, what the fuck is this?
From one operating system to the other,
can't navigate the fuck out of it,
and back and forth. It gets, you have to work the memory.
But I mean,
where are we going with this?
I was
complaining about getting old.
Well, no, I'm not complaining about getting old. I just, I mean, everyone says, like you said, it's sort of like, adapt or perish kind of a thing.
It really is.
Is it?
Yes.
Is it?
I mean,
like, you really think the perish is like,
I'll give you an analogy
inevitable?
That I can relate to. I don't know how many listeners can relate to this or not, but I've talked before that I still like to play card games from when I was a kid, but the thing about it is that, and it's not even just the one, it's all of them. They've all changed. They're not as simple and easy to understand as they once were. You can do that if you want to do it just for fun, but if you want to play any of these games at a competitive level, everything has evolved. Everything has become complex and even convoluted. And for those who don't know what that means, it means it's so difficult, not just to really understand, but there are so many new things that have been incorporated into these games that it's so much to remember, and it becomes you rack your brain trying to remember what all your options are when doing certain things. So it's just like, well, what the fuck fun is this if you can't have fun doing, playing a game because there's all these rules you have to remember, So it's just like, as much as I don't want to accept this, I understand that things evolve over time. Technology, games, society, everything evolves. And if you don't adapt, you're going to be stuck in the past.
Is that really terrible, though?
No, it's not. Because if I want to, I can go on my phone and I can play these games as I remember them from childhood, the way that they were, and still have a good time doing it. If I want to play, like, say, at, one of the local stores in a competitive setting, I've got to be up on all the new rules and all the, new mechanics. And it's just like, there's some times where I wish for that, and there's sometimes I'm like, I don't want to fucking have to remember all that stuff, because it's just like, it's a headache.
Like the other night, you and I were playing on an emulator. We were playing video games on an emulator. We were playing, you originally handed me this remote controller monstrosity with like 2 joysticks and 9 buttons and 5 triggers and all of this stuff and everything. And
not quite that much, but yeah.
To me, in my brain, it was just a monstrosity, because I have never evolved as far as video games go. I have never evolved past NES. I haven't. And I get it. But they're so much better. But they have these games on different whatever. Because I'm like, no.
NES is 2 buttons and a D-pad.
2 buttons and a D-pad. Thank you.
But see, Super Nintendo is 4 buttons and a D-pad.
Too much.
How is that too?
Let me tell you something. It was the graphics of the SNES that I could not handle.
See,
now, I was just like, I can't do this.
You're 4 years older than me.
Yes.
And I grew up with NES and SNES and Sega.
See, a friend of mine had Sega. Another friend of mine had Atari. The first time I ever played SNES was when I was in high school. It was the first time I ever played it, and I hated it so much.
But see, all the games were better because there was more to do. The graphics were better. It was more, dimensional. Like
I was in high school also the first time we played 64, right?
Yeah.
and I was like, "Oh, I don't want to play it. I don't want to. No, I'm gonna lose. I'm gonna suck. My hands are too, I don't know how to use this. It's too many buttons." And I got into it, and I was like, "I can fuck with this." And it turned out I was pretty good. I did the same thing with the Wii.
I will agree with you in the sense that when N64 and PS1 came out, I had to get them. For some reason, I think there were just games that came out, that were exclusive to those systems. I had to have.
We had a PlayStation.
And then PS2 came out, and it's like, okay, this is practical. I have to have this because it plays PS1 games, PS2 games, and it's a DVD player.
Yes.
And they're phasing out VHS.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, to bring it all back to the beginning. Okay. And I remember my first DVD I ever bought was Fast and Furious 1.
It was the first DVD you ever bought?
First DVD. Well, it was either that or it was like the Spider-Man animated series. I think I bought them at the same time.
I don't know what my first DVD was. I remember my first CD, but I don't remember what my first DVD was.
Anyway, but past PS2, I did not buy any more game systems until 2011 when I bought a used DS to play Pokemon Black, I think.
Yeah.
Sold that, and then I didn't buy another new system until I got my used Switch in 2021.
I do not have a problem with like the updating video games and stuff.
Absolutely.
I don't necessarily have a problem with it, but I don't want it. Like I don't want it. I got a Wii like 2 years after it came out. And that was the last video game system that I bought.
I remember when we went to go visit Mark and Carrie for the first time when they were out in Wisconsin back in 2011. He had a Wii.
Yeah.
And it had a lot of updated versions of certain games that we played, like Monopoly and freaking other stuff. And it's just like, all right, well, there's really not much else to do like while we're here because we're not really going out, because Sadie had just been born. So it was just Sadie, the human, not the dog. My niece. And we were playing games on that, and then Mike ended up getting one, but I was like, I don't need one, because when 2017 rolled around, I discovered the Raspberry Pi. And the Raspberry Pi, for those who don't know, is a computer that's the size of a cell phone, even smaller. And it can house every single game from every system from like 1985 up until 1999.
99.
Like,
very good year.
Every game. Oh, it was definitely a good year. I love 1999. And that's what we were playing all these retro games on. And that whole setup cost me $1.50, and I still have it to this day. And we can still play all the games that we grew up with. And I don't need to buy the Switch 2 or the PS5 or whatever the fuck else is coming out now.
But that's just it.
I can perish in that regard.
See, I still have all of my NES cartridges.
I'm a little buzzed
in the office right now. All of my original NES cartridges.
I know you do.
Are in the office right now. Now, since the actual NES console, which is in the garage right now, since it cannot hook up to modern TVs.
Well, it can. There's a way.
It is so complicated.
There's a way.
I got a retrofit, which is not an emulator. It's not everything's digital. It is literally a Raspberry Pi that it's just a box with a slit with a reader in it that you can actually put the cartridges in. And that is really the only way I want to play these games. Like, and you can't get them to work all the time, just like the original. And, it's just like, because I know it's like, oh, well, I can have these on the Raspberry Pi. It's like, yeah, but,
Listen, I completely feel you in that regard, because back in the day when we couldn't go outside and do things outside, like we were inside playing games, and we had old stuff. We had the hand-me-downs. We had the NES and the cartridges. You had to blow in and shit like that. It was great and all, but where was I going with this?
You got beer brain.
I do.
I don't know. Like, I don't get, I feel like
we're sitting here complaining about, how time is kind of like passing us by.
I don't even know if it's a complaint though. Like, this generation, the current generation, Gen Alpha, you people Like, I feel like you have been so conditioned to understand the rapid evolution of all of this nonsense that it's like you don't even think about what's foregone at this point.
That is due in part to the fact that, updates to things come out so quickly.
Yeah.
And because of instant gratification, which people talk about constantly, that's what society at large is used to. Okay? Whether it's, somebody being left on red. And it's like, how could you leave me on red? Answer my text. It says red. You need to answer me back like right away. Instant gratification is a problem because it's conditioned people to think that, what they feel like they want and need should be instant. And it's not, that's not the case. Like, how many times in our youth did adults tell us that patience is a virtue? I can't talk. But I mean, honestly, like, how many Gen Alpha people do you really know?
Well, they're all kids.
Exactly. Like, how many do you interact with? Not many, probably.
No. No, I probably have to interact more with Gen Z.
Like, we've still got our SNES and our NES. We've got our old ways of doing things, and that's all well and good. Like, if AI surpasses all of that, and if a time comes where we have to rely on AI for something, we'll probably will. We'll probably adapt. Because otherwise we won't be able to do the things we want to do.
But it's like no one's ever seen the Terminator series before. Doesn't anyone have a concern about Skynet?
That's a movie.
Are you sure?
It's really
funny? Maybe this has been propaganda the whole time.
The first time I saw the Terminator 1 and 2 was years after it had released. Like,
well, yeah.
Probably, God, can't remember. I think I was still living in my parents' house and it was on the movie channels and it was like back to back. And I'm just like, I've never seen these before. I should probably watch these. And so I did. And I'm like, wow, the second one's way better than the first one.
That is a fact.
Do you remember the time back in the days when sequels were better than the original? When people looked forward to sequels?
People looked forward to sequels because of how good the originals were, though.
I remember like reading an article or hearing that Schwarzenegger said he purposely held off on the second one for so long because he wanted to make people wait. He wanted them to, like, for the hype to build.
Yeah.
Like, not for nothing, T2 was a lot better than T1.
Well, yes, it was, and not because
not
a
like
little
a 7
in part
year span,
thanks
right?
to Robert Patrick. Also,
I follow him on Instagram.
He's
I don't know why.
Brilliant guy. I enjoy him very much. I see him every time I see his face, whether he's like playing someone on a TV show or in a movie or whatever and everything. I just
he's a big motorcycle enthusiast.
Yes, he is.
So
yes, he is. Well, he's the T1000. What are you gonna do?
Hope he doesn't kill you.
I don't believe that. I don't believe it's adapt or die. I really don't. And I have been criticized for it.
By who?
By
Gen Alpha?
By those, well, Gen Z also. I mean, like, because they don't understand I don't think they didn't understand the desire to not want to keep progressing. Like, things are good. What's wrong with leaving good things alone? Like, why is anything never going to be good enough?
Listen, you're talking to a guy who, when power outages occurred, I was completely fine. I know so many people who don't know, who are like beside themselves when the power goes out from like a thunderstorm. It's ridiculous.
We
put on a lantern and it was like, okay, no TV, no whatever. Yeah. Hope the food in the fridge doesn't go bad. And it's just like, all right, we can find things to occupy ourselves.
But it's like, even now, it's like, now with cell data, it's like, you're never going to be without.
I will say this, though. The last time the power went out here, you were still at work and I was at home. It must have been a Friday because you work late on Fridays.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like, shit, like my battery's going to die. It's like, I can't be on my phone. I'm like, wait a minute. I grew up at a time where I didn't have a phone during power outages. I should be okay. I can find other things to do.
Yeah. This goes back also to the other thing that we did yesterday and having to explain kind of the crux and the rub of boredom to the boy. Like, I don't understand boredom. I've never understood boredom.
I understand boredom.
I don't understand
But I
boredom.
also have it within myself to be able to occupy, like to entertain myself when I'm bored. It's like, okay, I'm bored. I'm going to go find something to do. And it's easier as an adult because I have options. My options were limited in childhood.
Were they?
Yes, they were.
What was in your house, though?
I couldn't leave the house.
But what was in your house?
My board meeting.
Like, I mean, yeah, exactly. Like, for me, like, if I ever got bored as a child, I would instantaneously look for a cardboard box to turn into something.
That's BOARD, not BORED. No, back. So let me enlighten our listeners with a tale of intrigue. When I was a kid and I wasn't allowed to go anywhere on a Friday night, I was home with a medium barbecue chicken pizza, a 2-liter of Pepsi, Courage the Cowardly Dog, and a board meeting in my bedroom of all my action figures, and it was fucking wonderful.
Now, did you discuss?
We did roll call and everything.
Did you discuss business?
Absolutely. Friday night was not, you know, we were on duty Friday night.
How old were you?
11, 12?
I mean, I definitely would never criticize something.
Too.
I mean, I certainly would never criticize something like that because I would create class syllabi for my stuffed animals.
You made it
and
school
related?
Yes,
I made it school related, and I would grade their homework. But before I graded their homework,
explains why you became a teacher.
I had to create their homework, and I wrote out I used the typewriter, and a typewriter,
which you have a collection of.
I have several, and I would type out like a little math test, and I would answer some of them wrong because not everyone can be an
This
A
whole
student.
Episode is like an exercise in Gen Alpha going to Wikipedia for like everything. Like, what's a typewriter? What are CDs? What's FYE?
Well, here's the thing: is that do they ask? Do they even ask anymore? Because they don't care.
They don't care.
I would love to believe that they're all like Googling it on their own to figure it out, but I know that that's not true. I
wish more people would make use of Google, especially my father.
So when I was at work one day, this was a few weeks ago, and I was at work one day and I was wearing my Donna Martin Graduates t-shirt, right? And every day, this one kid that I work with, okay, he just turned 23, just to give you an idea
Bless his heart.
What a baby. And he would read my t-shirts every day. What's your shirt say today? What does that say? What does that say? So he read my shirt, Donna Martin Graduates. What's that? And I literally looked him in the face and said, "You're too young."
It's okay. Until we started binging 90210, I didn't know.
You didn't know either.
Because I wasn't watching it back then.
But that was the one moment where I took it upon myself. And then I made him Google it.
Yeah.
And he did. Good for him. Later on that week, we had an incident. Where this same young fella, he did not know what the hamster dance was. So we tried to explain it to him, and he's like, "I don't get it." And we're like, "This is what people used to use the internet for." Was nonsense like this. That's not the hamster dance.
No, but that's something people use the internet for.
Yes, that is. And then what was the other one
Along
that
with
he did?
Chicken.
Oh, he did another one
chicken.
Also. That was
he
said something about jazz hands.
Yeah.
He said something about jazz hands, and we were like, "Well, like spirit fingers?"
Spirit fingers, yeah.
And he was like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
Go
and
watch
we were
Bring
like,
It On.
We literally told him, we're just like, "You Google it." We're like, "No, literally do your own research."
Google Sparky Pilastri.
Like, and just did a Google image search of jazz hands. Okay. And he's going through the Google images like, "I want to say it's this one." And we're like, "No, that's not it." And then he pointed to it. He's like, "Well, it's not this guy." And he pointed to a picture of him. We're like, "That's exactly what it is." So we clicked on a video link.
These are spirit fingers.
So we
are gold.
Clicked on a video link to watch it. And he's like, "What the fuck did I just watch?" And we're like, "What is the matter with you?" Like, I'm just like, but seriously, it's like, they don't know because they don't care. But are they going to care less because everything's being done for them by robots? Like, think about spell check. Remember how much fun it was to have spell check? Yeah. But you had to actively run spell check
to make sure that
to make sure you were doing it. Like, it didn't just do it as you went along. It's not predictive.
No, you had to do it at the end of your assignment.
and you had to click every next one and make sure that it was the right one. Like, even then you were doing it on your own.
We really are just complaining about how times have changed.
Maybe. Are you worried?
No. Why would I be?
I don't know. Skynet.
Fuck Skynet.
Are you worried?
We're all gonna be dead before we know it anyway.
I'm not.
Oh man, I remember how like when we back then our parents were just like, "You're gonna take care of us. You're gonna take care of us," and you don't hear us saying that to our kids because it's just like,
I don't want them taking care of me. No. One hand on their phone and like the other on what, my feeding tube. Like no, thank you.
Like if my dad can't even get me to take down the blinds, like I can't rely on the kids for anything.
No. And you know what? I accept that.
Listen, we are self-sufficient. Okay, we're good.
Thank God,
we're good. And here's the thing that I've always said: like, if I don't know something, I will figure it out. I will learn it. I will button mash. Like something I've always appreciated about my mother is that when she didn't know, she was a teacher.
Yeah.
Okay, and when she didn't know something that she had to teach to her students, she learned it. She taught it to herself. Okay, I am a self-taught musician of now 30 years.
30 years.
30 years. She died 30 years ago. Anyway, I have been teaching myself music, among other things, for 30 years because I had 3 older brothers who did not have the time or patience to teach me guitar. So every bit of guitar I've ever learned, most of it, I've taught myself. And I associate with musicians who have taught themselves because my philosophy has always been, you can teach somebody, you know, style or technique or how to play certain songs, but to play, they've got to figure that out on their own. Because if they don't have the determination, if they don't have the drive or the willpower to sit down and be patient enough to take it in, like, I can't tell you, like, you want to talk about boredom? When I was bored, I sat in my bedroom for hours every single night, downloading tablature, looking up sheet music online, playing along to, before iTunes. I don't even remember the media player I listened to, you know, music on. I remember getting my first desktop and there were 4 songs included with them. And it's just like, oh, that's all I've got.
Included with your computer?
With the desktop, yeah.
What?
One of them was like a Beethoven symphony or something.
Well, that's like when you bought a Volkswagen Golf and it came with,
Flowers?
No, and it came with a tape or a CD. Probably a CD at that point. It came with a CD of that like Swedish da 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 song that they used in the commercials.
See, I just remember when I worked at the drive-through pharmacy, every time a bug would come through, it would always have those like flowers in the cup holder. There was like a vase of like
like a Volkswagen bug.
Yeah.
Oh, not like a.
No, every single one of them had a vase of flowers in them, and I'm just like, why?
Weird.
Yeah. I'm not worried. Why are you worried?
I'm not worried.
Oh, good.
I don't care if I'm left behind.
I don't know. For some reason right now, I want to go to Blockbuster and I want to go to the Pokemon Snap machine and print out my photos.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, people always say to me, like, how did you not have Blockbuster? How did you not have Because our Blockbuster was like 30 minutes away.
Yeah.
We had a variety of mom and pop video stores. So there was no reason to drive 30 minutes to Blockbuster when you could drive 10 minutes to the mom and pop.
Yeah.
And like, I don't really remember if there was any difference in, you know, your options. Like, you know, I imagine that just like the difference between the local theater and AMC, which back then was Lowe's, like maybe they got the newer movies first and better, whatever, you know, but it's like, I remember going to Blockbuster every once in a great while. And then back when Pokemon Snap came out for N64, it was just like, you go to the kiosk and you print out your pictures.
And I just rented the My Little Pony movie every time.
You're so cute.
I never bothered to rent anything else until I got to high school.
You remember late fees?
I remember late fees. I remember when the late fees got to a point where it was just like, well, I own this now.
Do you remember when, just keeping stuff because you didn't feel like bringing it back?
I own this now. Oh, well, I remember when Hollywood Video went out of business and we had a friend who worked there and he told us, he's just like, store's closing. And we're just like,
keep everything.
So we literally, we rented stuff and we were like, we own these now.
See, like I remember being able to rent movies and video games at the grocery store. Our grocery store back the Grand Union, for those who don't remember. Our Grand Union.
Yeah, I remember that.
Super Nintendo games and VHS tapes. I remember renting. I might still have tapes that we stole from Grand Union upstairs somewhere. like Judge Dredd. I remember renting Super Mario Kart for Super Nintendo.
Super Nintendo. That's the one that I played, and I couldn't do it.
Those were the days. The 90s.
Bring them back. Bring them here. Bring them all here.
Back when my brother would steal the priest's golf cart.
Did he do it more than once?
I don't know about more than once, but I think once was enough.
Once is definitely enough.
That's a one-way ticket to hell, if you ask me. Yes, my brother stole the pastor of the local church's golf cart.
But he brought it back.
He did.
He also cost the town speed bumps.
He did not bring it back. He left it in the woods behind Lexington Gardens. The local florist, which is now a bank. Anyway.
Oh, God.
But the funny...
See, but that was fun.
The funny thing, because back before the internet, that's what.
But that's like you and I.
Troublesome teenagers did.
Went on a date, and we wondered. We're like, what does dating even look like anymore?
What does what look like?
Dating. What does it even look like anymore? Two people sitting next to each other.
Well, our first date had nothing to do with phones. Our first date was us sitting at a table talking to each other for 2 hours over drinks.
I'm not talking about old people dating. I'm talking about young people
4 years ago, we weren't old.
No, but we're older than teenagers.
You weren't 40 just yet.
Not yet.
But the funniest part about it was, you left it in those. And when John died, we were just like, do we know if he ever told Father Bob about the golf cart? Or does Father Bob still not know it was John? Oh, man.
Good times. This feels nice. This feels nice. This is nice. Did you have a good time?
I always have a good time. I love being nostalgic and talking about the old days.
Yeah.
I just got, before we started recording, I got back from dropping a package off at UPS. I took one look at you in that hat and I'm like, oh, looks like we're both bringing back 2007. This
has been my fit for many years. I've said that my fashion sense stunted in 97. So, there's 4 pairs of Janko jeans upstairs.
Listen, I have a distinct memory from 1999 coming home on a Saturday from the mall and just indulged in Pokemon for the entire evening. Back when we had Wizards of the Coast there, and we still had Saturday Matinee.
Oh, I loved Saturday Matinee. They had the tchotchkes and stuff. Yeah, that's good.
Take me back to 99 any day.
Any day, baby.
Any day.
Heck yeah. Well, in the meantime, this has been a good one.
It has.
It has. This has been nice. Been nice to sort of, dabble in nostalgia in a good way. And thank you out there in podcast land for listening, tuning into yet another episode in the saga of That Talking Podcast. We've had a blast. Find us on social media for all you tech savvy kids out there. DT Andy and JJ Star with 2 R's, 2 of them. And you got a show coming up. You got a show on the 31st.
31st in Stratford. Yeah.
May 31st, Stratford.
The Main Street Tavern.
Yeah, Main Street Tavern in Stratford. And then you have something in June also.
June 20th, we're playing a pizza place in Berlin.
Berlin, Connecticut.
Not Germany.
Not Germany.
I'd much rather be in Berlin, Germany.
Can you imagine playing a pizza parlor in Berlin, Germany?
I think we do better in Berlin, Germany. Steve does better in Germany than he does here, so.
Yeah. So, yes.
I think Blitzkid needs to take us to Germany with them.
Find Tax Collectors and Harlots on social media also. Find us on YouTube. YouTube is a big deal. Again, DT Andy and JJ Star with 2 R's. And we post our episodes every week, videos and whatnot. Like and subscribe, hit the thumbs up, all that jazz. Thank you.
All that jazz.
Find Love Hard Art and Coat of Arms Tattoo on Instagram also. And get ready because it's almost June. And that means 4 months until the New York Blood and Ink Convention in White Plains, New York, the weekend of October 4th. And I really should start getting ready for that.
Just another song in June.
So yeah, check out all that shit. And thanks again for tuning in. And
you should use this platform to display all your pieces that you have available.
Well, maybe we'll do an episode. Maybe we'll do an episode where we just plug everything. We just go through. Yeah, just take a tour. But for now, from the 3 of us at That Talking Podcast, I'm JJ Star.
And I'm Downtown Andy.
We'll talk to you later.